Welcome to the Phenomenal Teacher Show. Today's guest is Julia Wesley, who is a multidimensional medium, a life purpose integration coach, and a spiritual channel. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'd like to begin by asking you, who was your favorite teacher growing up and what made them special to you?
Oh my gosh. So the one that comes right to the top of my head is Miss Bennett, my 6th grade teacher. And I loved school, so I had a lot of favorite teachers, but she was my favorite just because she treated her students like they were people. She was talking to small people, but still people. And it was just, she challenged us and she just had that sort of family feeling about her. And so she's probably my favorite teacher of all time. Yeah.
I could definitely see that, challenging you, but still making you feel like you're an extension of the family somehow.
Yeah. I haven't thought about her in so long. Thank you for asking that question. Yeah, I loved her a lot.
Okay, so briefly, you shared with me earlier that you, at a very young age, you had some gifts that you discovered, or how did you fall into this path of being a medium and a coach and a channel?
I fought this path for a really long time because I actually do have a really strong background in academics, and I was always very good at school, and I fought this for a very long time, but there came a point where it's am I just avoiding this for the sake of avoiding it, or can I stretch my intellect a little bit to see if I can wrap my mind around it? And so I decided to take that path because it was the higher, more satisfying path for me. And I guess I started young as the assumption that pretty much anything I could imagine was possible in some way, shape, or form. And I just sort of, at a very young age, I was very open to this kind of stuff. But as I got older and as I sort of got into academia and sort of got really goal-oriented instead of learning for the joy of learning, then I sort of detached from the more spiritual side of my life. And then I got back into it when I had a series of awakenings happen to me. And it was just I was really depressed, very anxious. And then I had my guides sort of knock on my door and sort of shake me out of this feeling that I was desperate and alone. And they're like, we've always been here. So you've never been alone. And so that sort of got me on the path of reawakening and to stop brushing those things off that you tend to brush off, or it's that's not normal, or I've made that up, or anything like that. And instead of seeing those as signs, and then from there, I sort of realized after all the study that I have always been doing this my entire life. So I just my whole life, I've been intuitively channeling messages and advice for people from my guides to them. And I just wasn't paying attention because it was so natural to me and so normal to me that a lot of people think that spiritual guidance is like a flashbang. It must be something big. It must smack you in the face. But a lot of the times, because we're all spiritually connected, you just don't notice it because it's so normal to you and you just accept it as part of you, or you brush it off as that's not special, but it is. So my awakening is really a process of sort of reconnecting to the joy of what I do, and then also not brushing off my gifts as something that's just normal. Just everyone does that. So that's how I really got into it. But I did study with quite a few teachers. I did a lot of sort of intensive training to be a medium and to be a channel and all of that. But that was really because I love to learn. So you don't need all of that training, but that's why I did it, because it's just fun,
Yeah, I completely agree. I love professional development and just making myself better. I feel like there's so much growth that can happen. And if we're just willing and open to be receptive on, the more I know, the more I don't know. I didn't know that, and then now I know it, and then just this continuous process of developing myself so that I'm in alignment, with my soul's purpose. So let's talk a little bit about, there's so many things I want to ask you. We're going to direct it back to what you said in regards to your depression. So a lot of teachers might be facing depression where they feel sad and alone, even though they have a classroom full of 24 kids looking at them Monday through Friday. They still have this void. Is there any advice that you could provide to teachers that might be struggling with depression, just this constant feeling of sadness or lack of fulfillment in life?
Yeah, I actually, in specific to teachers, I do this sort of came to me earlier as I was communicating with my guides and I was doing my own work, because I also sort of consider myself a teacher and a learner in a way, because learning and teaching is the same energy. So they were saying that you've disconnected from the reason why you teach, because there are so many other demands on why you're teaching that as soon as you feel disconnected from the joy of what you're doing, and you're just like, this isn't me anymore. So you feel disconnected from yourself. I know, speaking of my own depression, the reason I was so depressed was because personally, I did not accept myself for who I was. When you're in a depression like that, there's a part of you that hates yourself. There's a part of you that's deeply unhappy. And I think you can really use depression as a tool. If you're going to get any sort of positive benefit out of it, you can twist it in your mind to be like, this depression is telling me something. It's telling me that what I'm doing is making me incredibly unhappy. And I can do the work, the inner work, sort of do an internal audit and try and figure out, where did I lose my way? Like, when did I feel disconnected? And sometimes you feel disconnected because it's time for you to move on. And sometimes you feel disconnected because instead of focusing on the action of what it is that you love doing, all of a sudden you're focused on the result. So I think that happens with teachers a lot of the times, where it's all of a sudden it's not just connecting with kids anymore, and it's not just teaching anymore for the joy of teaching and learning. All of a sudden you're teaching for grades, and all of a sudden you're teaching for test results, and all of a sudden you're just trying to push kids through to the next grade because those results are expected of you. And that sucks the joy right out of it. And so if you're doing that every day and you're like, I hate this, and you just have to keep doing it, that'll wear on you, you know? And I think that part of healing is honoring that part of yourself. And if what is required to heal and honor that within you is to take a step back from teaching, then I think you've done the right thing. Because ultimately, in order to heal your depression, you have to start saying, okay, me showing up depressed is not me giving my best. Like, these kids are not benefiting from me being depressed. You know, you're not your best you. And so sometimes the most compassionate and the most aligned thing to do is to take that step back. So if there is any guilt out there for not showing up every day and being like, I have to tap out, I have to take that time for me, I think that you can probably release that from yourself, because you're really doing the highest thing for you and for your kids, even to maybe get some young, unjaded person in there for a little bit and just allow things to settle a little bit, and then get to a place where you can be like, does everything suck? Did I just forget why I love to be teaching? Or is it actually time for me to incorporate something else to my teaching that I had been ignoring? You know, because sometimes it is a sign from your higher self that it's time to move on. You know, you need to incorporate something new. Or a lot of the times it's a sign of you've lost sight of why you're doing this in the first place. That was the case with me. Like, I had lost sight of why I was living this life. And I had just gotten to the point where I'm like, what am I doing? You know, I can't see the forest for the trees. I have no idea. Everything's dark and black. And that realigning to this idea that I wanted to live a life of joy was what helped me get out of my depression.
So, Julia, if a teacher wants to get out of this state of depression, what is something that she could do right away, or he could do right away, in order to feel like I'm not a victim of this life anymore? Like, I'm in charge. And even though I have this overwhelming feeling of sadness, either because of my situation or just how I feel in general about my life. Like, what if life just has become this disappointment and you just can't get yourself out of this rut? There's so many struggles that teachers could be facing right now. And maybe they can't step away and say, I need some time for myself. Because let me tell you something, making those sub plans take longer than teaching the class, Okay, so sometimes it's like, I don't want to call a day off because it's going to require so much more work out of me. Then it causes more stress. Then I'm even more sad. And then the day that I'm gone, then I'm worried about things I got to do when I come back. Right? So share with us.
Yeah, that sounds like a compounding problem. So what I would do is sometimes we don't really acknowledge where our emotional state is at. So you might feel depressed, but there is a difference between feeling depressed, acknowledging you're depressed, and then sort of owning. You'd be like, you know what? I'm depressed. And just sort of see it as something that's not you, but something that you're just experiencing right now. And that allows you to, instead of being absorbed by it, it allows you to take some sort of agency over it. And that is a way for you to sort of take that swirling energy that feels like it's being contained inside of you and sort of like take it out of you and sort of hold it in your hands a little bit and see like, okay, this is gross. Like, I don't like this at all. What is this trying to tell me? And so if it's impossible for you or you just can't bring yourself to do all that work to get in a sub, then just take a moment. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy, especially like there's no quick fix to getting yourself immediately out of depression, but to give yourself a moment, because sometimes that's the first step, to give yourself a moment from this gross depression you're in, to just be like, I see you. Like, I see you, depression. Like, I'm not going to pretend like you're not there anymore. I'm not going to try and escape you. I'm just going to look at you and see you. And that, for me, helped a lot. But then also I want to recommend this. Sometimes this may seem a little woo-woo to people, but meditation. If you're not already doing meditation and you're depressed, if you can only do a minute of meditation a day, it will benefit you. And it may take some time for those benefits to build up. But if you're just like, I can't be with myself for more than a minute, then start with a minute. And then the next day, do a minute and 10 seconds. And just sort of compound on that. And what's great about meditation is that it gives you just a moment to just be with yourself. And the longer you can get yourself to meditate, the more you can be like, okay, I'm with myself. I see myself. Now, why am I identifying the way I do with myself as I am? So am I depressed, or am I just experiencing depression? So then you can sort of take that, what I call the observer position. And now you can sort of see it from like a curious, sort of detached kind of a way of, what am I doing here and why is this happening? So unfortunately, I don't have like a quick fix. And anyone who tells you that they do have a quick fix is they're a snakeskin or a snake oil salesman. Like, it's a lie. But if you do invest in yourself, just a minute a day, you can do it. I swear to God, you can. Then you'll start seeing the benefits, and then you'll be able to judge for yourself, do I need to jump ship? Or can I just refocus? And that's what I would recommend. That's really what helped me.
When you meditate, is that a way that you can receive more guidance from, like some people have different beliefs. So some people believe in angels, some people, believe in God, some people, all sorts of things. So I don't want to just name one thing. Let's just say like the higher realm or the spiritual realm in general, just to be general. Yeah. So in meditation, is this how you're connecting to your guides? Because you said that you could hear them and it flows so easily to you. But I know for me personally, and a lot of people, my colleagues, a lot of people I associate with, they don't have this intimate relationship. They want to, but it just doesn't come. Like, is it because we're not meditating enough? We're blocking ourselves? Like, give us some advice of how we can really make this connection happen.
Good question. Thank you for asking that. So a lot of the times, like, I'm here to validate for you that you are constantly in connection with your angels, your guides, your higher self, your soul, whatever connection makes you feel warm and fuzzy on the inside. You're in constant connection with it. You're never separated from spirit. And I know that can be hard to believe, especially when you don't recognize it. But a lot of the times, spiritual information, because we have a heart, we're so focused on like physical reality that sometimes when spiritual information comes through, it has to come through to us as like a physical, like, oh, I read this article on the news and this sentence really stood out to me. Or I'm seeing, sometimes people will see repeating numbers and they'll be like, I wonder what that means, and they'll Google it or something. You're always in communication with your guides. So what I would say is whenever you feel like a hunch or a gut feeling, or you get the warm fuzzies. Consider that as communication from your soul or your higher self. Just assume it is, because that's the first step. What people, when they're in this space of, I don't have a connection with my guides, I don't have a connection with my angels, I don't feel a connection with spirit, with God, whatever that is, it's, you've pushed it down and you've made it something that it can't be. You're saying, oh, well, it can't be that easy. It can't be that obvious. It can't be that simple. But it is that simple once you get to the realization that you yourself are a spiritual being. And then everything's spirit. But until we get to that point, meditation's a really great way to do that. I personally, I don't always have to get into meditation to connect with my guides, because I'm sort of throughout the day always going in and out, because that's just what's easiest for me. I know some people don't recommend that, but it works for me. But I think if you're someone who's just like, I don't feel connected at all, but I'm going to sit with myself and my feelings for a minute. And how can I connect with my guides? What I always recommend doing, instead of, we'll just call it your angels because that's more commonly accepted, but whatever you like, your dragons, who cares? And so it's easiest to connect with your soul than it is to connect with anything else, because your soul is always communicating with you. If you're disconnected from your soul, you're dead. That's it. Like that's how easy it is. That's how always connected you are. And so it's really when you sit in your feelings and you sit in your emotions, you sit in your thoughts, and you just be with them. And instead of seeing them as something that you need to run away from, but instead as communication, and saying, okay, what's the lesson? What are they trying to teach me? Because my soul wants good things for me. It always does.
I think it'll be really cool for all the listeners if we could just do like a short, maybe guided meditation process that they could replay like in between classes or under very short breaks. And I think it'll be such a gift to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to do that now or?
Yes.
Okay, sure. Give me a second. Okay, so this is what I always start off with when I'm trying to teach someone meditation for the first time. So it's easiest for, if you've never done it before, if you can close your eyes, but don't fall asleep, because that's not where we're about right now. So just kind of keep your eyes closed. And whatever it is that you're feeling right now, just go with it. Don't feel like you need to be somewhere. Don't think that you need to be thinking something. There is no goal to meditation. The only goal, if you want to call it that, is to just be. So wherever you're at right now is perfect, and don't try to change it. Maybe take a couple deep breaths. I like to breathe in for a count of 4, and then hold it for 7, and then release it for a count of 8. And you can just keep doing that for as long as comfortable for you. And then when you finally feel like you're in a spot where you can be relaxed and calm, don't rush it. When you finally get to this point of relaxation where you sort of feel like you're a lake with calm winds, it's just sort of nice to be here. Then we can sort of just feel into our heart space. Sometimes it's easier if you feel very disconnected to put your hand over your heart, just so that you can place your attention on your heart, physically and mentally. And sometimes emotions will arise when you do this. Sometimes you'll feel like you need to cry. Sometimes maybe even anger will pop up, and that's okay. We're not here to judge any of that. And if you do have a thought that pops up into your mind, just sort of watch it. You don't have to try and push it down. You don't have to try and tell it to go away. You can just sort of let it run its course. Maybe it's trying to tell you that you're out of milk. Or maybe it's trying to tell you that you have a whole bunch of papers to grade. You can just say, thank you for reminding me. And then just let it go. And you just sit here for another moment. And then when you feel connected to your heart, and that can just take as long as it takes. There's no pressure. Then just sort of pay attention to your feet on the ground or your seat bones on your cushion, maybe whatever your back is resting against. And just sort of feel it. Just place your awareness on it. And the reason we're doing this is because we want to reconnect with our body. You just want to feel it. And again, we're not telling it to do anything. We're not saying it has to be anything. It doesn't have to perform. It is already performing. It is already taking care of you. So when we reconnect in with our body, it's sort of a love letter. We're saying thank you for supporting me. And then we don't need anything else from you but to do what you're already doing. And we thank you for it. So we can call this grounding. And in the spiritual world, when we ground, what we're actually doing is we're connecting with the earth. And if you're into that kind of thing, connecting into the earth is a really great support system. You can sort of take all of the emotions that are just desperate to leave you, your anger, your pain, your sadness, and you can just sort of give it to the earth. Sort of let it just sink out of wherever you're connected with the ground. And if you feel called, what you can do is you can just tell Mama all about it. You can tell Mama Earth all about your problems. She'll give you a hug and she'll tell you it's okay, and she'll say, I'll hold on to these problems for you until you want them back. And then so, just for a moment, you can put your troubles down. You can just let them be. You can pick them back up later if you feel like you need them, but for right now, we can just set them down. And then when you're comfortable, you can remind yourself that even if you can't see the sun is always there. And even if you can't see the sky is always there. That even if you can't feel your connection with spirit, if you can't feel your heart, if you don't think that you can feel your emotions, you can know that they are always there. They were there before, they will be there again, but maybe right now you're just focused on the clouds. And so once you just accept that right now you're looking at clouds, and that's okay. That gives them the freedom to move. If they don't move, that's fine. There's no expectations here. You're just here with yourself. And wherever you are at is perfect. And now if you would like to, you can leave your problems with the earth, with Mama Gaia. That's fine. She would prefer that you leave them with her. But if you feel as if you must pick them back up to go about your day, that's fine as well. And then just sort of take a deep breath in. Maybe roll your shoulders a little bit. Maybe sort of give a little bend to your spine. Maybe shake your hips if you're standing up. Shake your legs, reconnect with your body, how good it feels to stretch. Maybe do a little neck tilt, your fingers and toes. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Julia. That was so special. I love that.
I'm glad.
I'm sure our listeners tuning in are going to press replay. I think it's the moment to spend time with Julia.
I'm glad I could help.
Okay, so my last question before we wrap up for today is, we talked about depression and aligning with our higher guidance. Mm-hmm. Now, what is one thing that a teacher can do to help in the situation that they're facing with either depression or that wanting to be, fulfilled and having this connection? I mean, I know that's a big question.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. So the question was, what can they do with their situation, their depression? Okay, so I think the first thing to do is to realize that your situation is unique and to honor that. And I think for some reason that feels really important for me to say. So I don't want you to think that you're lost in the crowd or that you've just been swept away by a tsunami and what can you do? Like, it's impossible. Your situation is unique. Your talent and your purpose is unique. And in any tough situation that you find yourself in, you are there because you are meant to bring the light to the situation. So reconnecting to that, and that might feel hard to believe because you might think that the situation is just so far outside of your control. And you may be right. Your role in the situation may to help people realize that we've gone off the rails here. But sometimes your job in a situation is just to do the absolute best that you can at any given moment, because that's really all that you can do. So if what you're trying to do is reconnect to your inner guidance system and to your sort of spiritual connection, that's my number one suggestion, is to realize that you're unique. Your spiritual connection is unique. And it wants me to talk about how we connect in with spirit. There's a whole bunch of different ways that we can do that. I interpret my information very emotionally. I get a lot of what we call claircognizance, where it's just sort of like a knowing comes into you. I think a lot of teachers get that as well, because it seems like you just know what to say at the right time. You're sort of feeling into the situation, and what you're doing is you're channeling the correct information that student needs at that time. Teachers play like triple duty, right? You have so many jobs. Like, you're not just there to teach someone how to do math, but you're also there to like emotionally coach them through life, to like mentally coach them through life. This is how you adult. This is how you deal with your emotions. Yeah. And so as you sort of recognize that your job as a teacher is holistic, realize that the way you take in information is holistic as well. You're going to take it in from your gut feelings. You're going to take it in from the way that you think, the way that you see something. Sometimes you'll get images in your mind and you'll blow them off. Sometimes you'll even get songs running through your head and you'll blow them off. That's a really common one, and that is clairaudience. That's your guides communicating with you. So recognize that you're unique. The way that you connect with spirit is unique. And recognize that your situation is going to demand a unique solution. I can't sit here and tell you that there's a one-size-fits-all pill for depression. That's not even how that works in psychiatry. So honor your uniqueness. And from that point, it's really just about giving yourself the freedom to take care of yourself and to take care of your situation. And I know it's unique, and I know that that may be hard, and I know that you may feel disempowered to deal with your situation, but just know, because you are doing what you're doing, and you have been a teacher, if you've already left, or you are a teacher, and you're just feeling disempowered right now, that you're here for a reason. I don't know many teachers who are teachers because they don't have some sort of calling. Like, if you're depressed right now, it's because you care. You know, if you're depressed right now, it's because you feel disconnected from why you're doing it in the first place. You feel burnt out. And so remember that and honor the reason that you came here. And remember that your depression is saying that I have more to give. I have more to do, and I'm not being utilized to the best of my ability, and it's crushing me. So I need to expand a little bit. That's what depression really is you've really sunk in yourself, like you've made yourself very small. And so depression is really asking you to expand again, to love yourself enough to expand and sort of know and say that I can do more. Stop pushing me down, you know? I don't know if that directly answered your question or not, but
Yes, thank you so much. And how can our phenomenal teachers find out more about working with you?
Oh, yeah. So you can find me at divinerealignment.com. I give life purpose readings, and I also do life purpose integration. So your life purpose is as unique as you are. Just because you're a teacher doesn't mean that you're the same as any other teacher. You might bring, of course, you bring something different to the table, but you do it through teaching. So I like to help people figure out how they can live their life purpose in every moment of the day, and to help you make the decisions and to help you see how your life is geared to help you express your life purpose. So I would love to help you with that. And it's divinerealignment.com. I also do a live podcast where I give like mini life purpose readings. That's on Blog Talk Radio. So if you're feeling a little iffy about working with me, you can just hop on over there and see if you like my style. I'm on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Thank you again, Julia.
Thank you so much.